Dang, that's one catchy tune. Welcome to the Barvé everyone. I'm your host, Maya. And this week on the show, we have the lovely Meeta Phadke, ni Paranjpe. As you've probably guessed, Moja Hi Moja from the movie Jab We Met is her all-time favorite song. I'm going to keep my foot tapping as we listen to it some more, and then we'll go ahead and meet Meeta.
Okay, so today we have Meeta. Hi, Meeta.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How's it going with you?
It's going great. Thank you for spending this Sunday with me.
Yes.
Actually, before we dive into deep, why don't you just introduce yourself to our listeners so they know who they are listening to?
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Meeta Phadke, previously Paranjpe. I am Nandini Barvé Paranjpe and Anil Paranjpe's daughter. I have a younger sister who lives in Mumbai, and I'm living here in Michigan with my family, Sanket, my husband, and Samar, my son, and Bentley, our dog. And well, we've been here about 8 years, going on to 9, which sometimes when I think about it, I'm very terrified about because days are going by so quickly, and this has been the longest I have honestly lived anywhere. So my palms are starting to itch, and I feel like the urge to move now. So yeah, we'll see what the future holds for us.
No, that's very interesting, right? And then I'll come back to that teaching thing.
Mhm.
Because Texas is always open. Texas is always waiting for you to come in, so keep that in mind. But again, just to set the relationship and genealogy a little bit,
Mhm.
like you said, you are the daughter of Nandini and Anil, of course.
And yeah,
Nandini is the daughter of the late Appa Kaka Gangadhar Barvé, who is my dad's real brother,
correct.
right? So that makes me and Nandini first cousins, right?
Yeah.
And that's the relationship. So yeah, so thanks. That was a very good introduction. And I actually did not realize that you were there for 9 years. Time does fly.
I know. I mean, 2015, it seems like we just came a couple of years ago. And then when I actually start counting, we are here almost as old as Summer is. So Summer was born here. He's 8. So we are coming on to year number 9 in Michigan. So
And time does fly. Trust me, I have 2 of them, just 1 year older
yes.
than Summer.
I know.
Exactly. But you also made a very interesting comment there that this is the longest you've ever lived in a place. So that's very interesting. So let's roll back the years a little bit. So where were you born? Which city were you born?
I was born in Mumbai. I lived there for a few years, and then my dad's in the hotel business, so he would move around a lot due to transfers. So we moved first to Goa in India. Within India, we were in Goa briefly. Then we came back to Bombay. Then we were briefly in Africa, Zambia for a couple of years. Then we came back to India, and then we moved to Jaipur. So Jaipur has been my formative years. Most of my formative years I've spent in Jaipur. My high school and my post grad was in Jaipur. Then we lived in Delhi for a bit, and then I came back to Bombay to work, and then I got married, and then we moved to Germany. From Germany, we moved to Michigan. So it's been, yeah, It's been a wild ride.
quite a journey. So
Yeah.
there's a lot to unpack there, right?
Yes,
And
yes.
we
So
will
I
do that.
actually had to think back, okay, how many schools have I been to?
Yeah.
All?
And when you mentioned Africa and Zambia, I of course knew because I remember Nandini and we were in Zambia. But of course, yeah, you were of course there as well. So how old were you when you were in Africa?
I was a little younger than what Summer is now. I think I was 6.5 when we went there, and by the time I came back, I was 8.5, 9. We were there for about 2.5 years.
And do you still vividly remember it, or is it like a hazy memory, a foggy memory?
I wouldn't say vividly, but I do remember some things. Like I remember the houses that we've lived in there. We lived in 2 houses, I remember. I don't remember the roads or anything. I remember my school. It was an international school. Um, I am actually in contact with a couple of friends from Zambia as well. So I think that's the other nice side of moving around so much, that you have so many people you can call friends, but then this so widespread sometimes. It's a two-sided coin, Sometimes you have so many friends, but not enough close friends. It's like that.
Very true. Very
Yeah,
true.
that's what
So
happened.
yeah, so you were there in Zambia for a couple of years.
Mhm.
You still remember? That's awesome, because I hope Anme and I Summer can sort of remember this phase of their life, right?
Yeah,
So
totally.
that's awesome that you can do that. But then I guess you moved back to India, and then you did your schooling in Jaipur. Is that I guess you spent the bulk of the time in Jaipur for
Yeah,
schooling?
yeah.
Okay.
So when we came back from Zambia, I think we were in Mumbai for a couple of years, and then that got transferred to Rambagh Palace in Jaipur, and that's where I spent I think my middle to high school was there.
Right. So
Yeah.
how do you remember the high schooling? Do you remember it fondly? I'm guessing you have a lot of friends, because you seem to have a knack of making a lot of friends who still remember you from Zambia. So I'm guessing you had a lot of friends there. But how was the whole education and schooling in Jaipur for you? Like, what was the journey like there?
It was hard. I'll be honest initially, because we had an American school board in Zambia, so I got used to. I mean, not to sound politically incorrect or anything, but American board, it was a lot easier to get used to. Then we came back to Mumbai, it was the SSE board, and there were a whole lot of new subjects that I had to get used to, like geography, history. It was a whole lot of just like reading and everything. And then from SSE I moved to CBSE board in Jaipur, which was another league altogether. I struggled academically. I struggled a little bit. And on the other side, I was a little reserved as well as a kid. I don't know why. I mean, even though we moved around that much, I was very social. And then when all these setbacks came, where I was having a hard time getting used to the studies and everything, it kind of pushed me back a little personality wise, I feel. But I still had my share of friends. So high school, I remember high school was more of fighting with mom to let me stay out with friends. Not that we used to go party or anything like that, but just to like go out. We used to go on our two-wheelers a lot at that point. So just to stay out past dusk used to always be like a scene at home. So
That
that's what I remember a lot. I mean, I remember my mom yelling if I would be late, and me fighting back because I wanted more independence. It was typical teenage
that
fights, which
that's
go on till today. By the way, the time fights.
interesting. So you're talking about fighting, or the quote unquote fighting with your mom. So it still goes on today, even
Yeah,
though you're
mom and
the
dad sometimes
mom
too.
and dad, because they are always going to think of you as their kid. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter that you're old enough, successful
Yeah,
enough. And trust
yeah.
me, I can always see that.
You know,
Happen.
there's a funny incident that happened when we visited India when Summer was about a year and a half old, and he was with mom and dad, and me and Shruti, we had gone for a concert somewhere, and the concert went on. So it was like 2 o'clock or something in the night when it got over. And my dad gives me a call. Okay, he doesn't call Shruti, he calls me, and he's like, "Where are you?" I'm like, I'm out for the concert. What is the time? I was like, 2 a.m. When are you coming home? You have a kid now. I was like, I know, but the kid is with you, so it's okay.
That
So
is
yeah,
so
it's all
funny.
until today.
That
It's
is so funny.
funny. Yeah, can be
So
funny.
it's interesting your dad called you. So who was the more stricter of the two growing up? Was it your mom or was it your dad, or were they like
And they were
jointly?
hands in glove always,
Well,
always.
yeah.
I think dad more. I think he used to get egged on by mom a lot of times. Because he'd be, sleepy on the phone. So I'm guessing she probably woke him up and made him call.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. Yeah, and yeah, that's very interesting. Just to go back to what you were saying about like the
Mhm.
Jaipur days, right? So, I think what your mom was doing was like what any mom would do, and what you were. I guess you know that right now, right?
Yeah.
Interesting you mentioned that you struggled academically because you went from, and I don't think it's politically incorrect to say that the American schooling,
Yeah.
especially in schools, are not as, they're not as academically oriented. Let's put it that
Correct.
way. They
Correct.
focus more on the round development, as you know, right?
Right. They're more personality driven. Yeah.
Personality,
Yeah.
they have emphasis on sports, but definitely the Indian boards, both SSC and CBSE, are
Yeah.
more academically oriented, right? So that does put extra stress. I'm wondering though, I think the jump from American schooling to the CBSE and SSE would also have had a big impact on you for languages, right? So Hindi was the first time there, right? So was that a
Correct.
struggle for you to learn Hindi? And you probably did learn.
Hindi was a struggle, especially when we came back to Mumbai from, or when we came back to India from Zambia. I did not know Hindi at all, so I picked up whatever tuta futa Hindi from the Bombay school, and then that Hindi is not enough when you go to a CBSE board. So I remember I used to write like one-line answers for all the questions, and the teacher would be like, "बच्चे थोड़ा थोड़ा लंबा." I don't even know what the word for answer.
Got it.
Answer likho.
Your answer. Yeah.
So, yeah. So Hindi, but Hindi was okay. I mean, after a point, I kind of got used to it. Maths used to be a problem.
Maths is still a problem.
Maths was a struggle. Yeah. Although I'm not bad with numbers, but until I understand a concept, I just it's hard for me to handle.
I think math is very polarizing, right? Either you get it and you're very
Yeah.
comfortable with it, or you
Correct.
don't get it and then you get frustrated and you get stressed out, and then
Exactly.
there's pressure that math. Everyone tells you math is needed,
Mhm.
math is needed, and then you feel down on yourself because you're not that math oriented. And I can tell you that because I was very similar. I
Right.
was not math friendly kind of a guy, right? Math and me did not go hand in hand, but I could sense that. So sounds like that had a slight impact on you on your social life, right? You said your friend circle.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I did have friends, but I mean, just those two or three people who I would really get along well with.
right. So instead of like a large social group, you had two or three
Correct.
friends whom you sort of kept
Right.
hanging on when you graduated high school, right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
are you still in touch with them by any chance?
I am in touch with a couple of them, not everybody, but yeah, I'm still in regular touch with a couple of them.
Okay. And yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, in fact, I'm going to meet one of them when I come to India now.
Oh, interesting. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice that you can
Yeah.
be in touch with friends.
Yeah,
So-
I mean, Facebook and Instagram and all these things have helped a lot for sure.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
That-
That's true. So growing up, how was it like growing up with your younger sister? It's like what's the age gap between you two?
We are
Years?
6 years apart.
Oh, 6 years apart. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, for some reason I thought it was a lot less, but 6 years is pretty big. Which
It's almost a generation gap,
Right.
especially in our college days or her college days.
so in school, when you were finishing high school, she was probably too young to play like a major role in terms of fights or opinions, something or anything like that, right? Was she young enough, or was she still opinionated at that time?
In school, you mean? Did you ask me in school? Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, it's funny because when we moved to Jaipur, I was maybe about 30, no, maybe 12, 11 or 12 years old, I think, at that point. So we would play a lot together at that point. And then once I got older, I became a teenager. She got busy. I mean, I got busy with my studies and my little, whatever, 2 or 3 friends I had. And then she got busy doing her own stuff. And then college and everything happened. And that's where I think the gap came in a little bit. She was always opinionated, but to answer your question.
But it
Still
sounds
is.
like actually there was a nice overlap when you guys were together, played together, right? Because
Yeah.
the age difference does make it difficult, right?
Yeah.
So I'm glad there was like a portion
Yeah.
of time when you guys could hang out. I think
Yeah.
that's really cool. So you went to college. Which college did you go to after high school? Which college did you go to?
So after high school, we moved to Delhi. I was in Kamla Nehru College in Delhi. And my specialization was actually psychology. So that's also an interesting story. In Jaipur, at the time when I was in 11th and 12th, it was either you have to be a doctor or you have to be an engineer. So you either have to, if you have science, then you either have to, like I said, become a doctor or engineer. And I didn't want to be either. I didn't want to do maths. I had a little bit of an interest in biology only because I did not like maths. And then psychology was like a fifth elective subject. Uh, and I remember I enjoyed psychology so much, but at that point it was never a career discussion, and I was in the 12th. So even the career counselor that we had, she was always like engineering, medical, engineering. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to do either of those. So what do I do? And then when we got to know that we are anyway going to be moving to Delhi, and Delhi has some really good colleges for psychology. So Kamla Nehru was one of them. I got through that, and that's where we were for the next 3 years until I graduated.
Well, I'm happy to hear that you weren't coerced into doing either engineering or doctorate, which is something I think. So did your parents sort of guide you towards and encourage you towards psychology? Or what was that conversation like when you told them you're interested in doing psychology?
That went well. I think they saw that my aptitude lay there because I scored the highest marks in psychology. I think even they saw it's no use pushing her towards doing something she's not going to enjoy. So they also backed it for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then I'm guessing because you are now in a place where you're doing something you like, right, which is psychology, did your social circle now become bigger? Did you have a lot more friends, or were you still 2 or 3 close friends?
Again, it was a new place, so newer challenges, meeting people. But okay, this is a funny story. So I had glasses. I've had glasses my whole life. And I guess at some point I was a little conscious of that fact that, I wear glasses and I don't know, for some reason. And then when in college, one time when I was in Delhi, they had these people from Bosch and Lomb came in, and they were sort of promoting their contact lenses in the college. And I just, for the heck of it, I was like, you know what, let me try. Let me try wearing them. And that was actually the first time I got a feel for what life is without glasses. And that actually gave me a lot more confidence. That kind of opened up my personality a lot more. And that's what I think made me more confident while talking to people. I don't know why I had that issue with glasses, but somehow that also shaped my personality.
No, I'm not surprised to hear you say that, because again, it does. I'm just thinking back to when we were growing up, right? I was lucky enough not to wear glasses then,
Mhm.
right? But I remember that people, the kids especially, who
Yeah.
wore glasses were the outsiders, and it
Yeah.
was, I think something's wrong, but they were not at par, right? They're kind of below par.
Correct. Yeah.
I totally get where-
I'm glad it's changed now because Summer wears glasses and it's very
Right.
normal now.
I think this is mostly an India thing. I think it's changed also in India because again you have the contacts, and the glasses are now fit
Mhm.
better. So it's so I think it's a little more, it's different than what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting to say that. So you are okay. So that opened up your
Yeah, that I think opened up my personality. But then it being Delhi, my mom and dad both, they did not really let me go out again. So,
I was
so I
about
used
to.
to wait for like, summertime, summer holidays. I used to come to Bombay, Pune. I used to hang out with Reema and Mansi, my cousin from the other side, her friends. So I used to look forward to those visits a lot.
I was about to ask you. You have a newfound personality, newfound confidence.
I could use it there.
There's not much to do with Delhi to really explore that, right? So,
Ah. Ask
so
my
you,
mom when you interview her why.
yeah, I know she's a mom, right? So that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So Delhi. So it sounds like you seem to have moved right bang smack when it was like a good time for you to move, right? You moved out of Jaipur when you're just about to go to college. You moved out of Delhi just when you're about to go out of college. So was that planned by your dad, do you think, or was it just
No,
happened?
it just happened. It just happened. I think the timing sort of coincided with
Okay.
everything.
Okay.
Um, even after graduating from Delhi, dad moved on to like Agra. He was handling some hotel in Agra. But then I came back. I went back to Jaipur actually for my MBA. So MBA time was actually a lot more fun than
Oh,
my college.
okay. Let's talk about that. So you went back to do Jaipur, and I guess your mom and sister were in
Yeah,
Jaipur at that time.
they were still there.
So how was MBA for you? Like, did you something you wanted to do, or did you feel peer pressure to do it? What prompted you to go down an MBA route?
I wanted to do hotel management, honestly, because I saw my dad in that industry and it fascinated me. So I really wanted to do or get into hotel management. But since he had seen it from the inside, he's like, it's not worth it. Unless you're at a decent position, it's really not worth it because you have to put in those hours. There is no family life. There is nothing else that you can do. You have to do night shifts. You have to do, it's not fun when you're struggling. And then he kind of pushed me away from it. He convinced me to get into MBA because that would open up a lot more avenues. For me, I think MBA was the flavor of the season at that point too. This was a long time back.
Was it difficult for you to get into an MBA, or were you able to find a college quite because you had to move back to
It
Jaipur, right?
was a struggle. I gave a lot of exams. I didn't do well in a lot of them, but I got through Amity in Jaipur, and it was a new university at that point. And it's like an hour and a half away from the main city. Like the campus was an hour and a half away, and we had a bus that would take us from home to the campus. And I made a lot of friendships on those bus rides. So MBA was a fun time. We had
Interesting.
a lot
So
of fun. Yeah.
were you still living at home, or were you living at like in college
No,
campus?
I was at home. I was
Were
at
at
home. Yeah.
home. Okay. Okay. And so you were in MBA for like 2 years, 3 years?
2 years. 2 years.
2 years. And then
Hmm.
did you start, were you placed out of campus, or did you have to do another stint looking for a job?
I wasn't. I got very close, but unfortunately, the last round it didn't work out. So I had to like look outside of campus placements
Okay.
for a job. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about the first job you ever got. What was that? Describe that.
I worked in India Today. I worked with India Today as print sales, ad sales associate. So I started my career with ad sales. I hated it because I hate sales. I don't like sales. But at that point, I had to get into something. I had to put my foot in the door and just start somewhere. So I started with India Today. I was there for about 6 months. And then from there, I think I never understood it at that point, but I think my strength always lay in client servicing, not necessarily getting new clients, but then servicing the clients that we have. So, and at that point, I guess it wasn't like a different Bentley just came in. It wasn't like a separate, field of sorts. It was always a part of something. So for me, it was like I want to do HR. I want to do HR. I want to do HR. And my boss also, I remember my boss at India Today, he also told me, he's like, you want to get into HR? Where do you want to get into HR? I was like, I don't want to do sales. I don't want to do sales. So and then I fortunately came across, I met one of my friend acquaintances at that point, and he was working at a recruitment firm, and he had newly started like a staffing team. So he said, I'm looking for somebody to join that team. Would you be interested? So I said, yes. So yeah, so within 6 months, I moved jobs. But and then I joined MAHR. That was my first like client servicing staffing role. And
And that
these were
was
both in Mumbai.
other than Mumbai. And that's something you really enjoyed, right? So
Yeah.
how long were you there? How long were you in MAHR? And
MAHR, I was there until I got married. I mean, MAHR got taken over by another company and everything. And then, so I was there for about 2 years with them.
okay. So you're there for 2 years, right? So
Hmm.
obviously, I don't want to take you around the whole. How many guys did you see before you met some kid? I think that's his own separate story. I'm pretty sure we can have an hour
Oh,
conversation
yeah.
about. But what I do want, I'm just curious and interested about, right? Like you're working for 2 years, you meet this guy, and obviously, he's from Germany. So at that time, it's going to become apparent to you that you'll have to leave your job, right? So were
Mhm.
you okay with that, or what was your thought process like when you came to
I was
know that
okay. I was okay with that because I liked him. So
he trumped
it
everything?
worked out. And I was quite confident I may have to work hard, but I'll find something in Germany also to do. So I mean, that confidence was like, okay, he's a nice guy, so
Yeah.
it'll
Okay.
work.
So it's I'm going to be talking to him soon, right? But looks
Yeah.
like he trumped, and that's why I'm going to talk to him more about you. But sounds like he trumped it. You're okay with leaving, and I remember I think you got married 1 year after I did, right? Me and
Yeah,
Nandini.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's not that far off, right? So
No.
it's compared to some of the other ones, it's not that far off. So here you are. You just moved again from Delhi to Mumbai. Work for 2 years. Now you're going to completely different country, right?
Yeah.
So you were probably very young when you were in Africa, right? But I guess you were when you moved to Germany. What was the cultural shift and um, difference is what it like what do you remember the most? What is it that surprised you the most about Germany? Because obviously everyone has some
Yeah.
feelings and thoughts and expectations of
Right.
life is going to be like that, and then something turns out to be good, something turns out to be bad. So overall, what was the thing that surprised you the most once you moved to Germany?
Up until that point, I didn't know how much Germans were or stuck to their language. So anywhere you go, that's all you heard. You go in the trains, it's German. You go in the supermarkets, it's all German. Everything is in German. So that was one big shock. And I mean, even when I applied for the visa and everything, I knew that you need to know some amount of German. And actually, Aji taught me that whatever I needed for the visa, Manda Aji taught me that German. But then what you actually learn and what you actually hear on the streets is a completely different ballgame. So that was a shock. That was a shock for sure. The language, um, and then the weather was very welcoming for me. Coming from the heat of Mumbai, I actually enjoyed the cooler air there. And then I told my German teacher there, I love the weather in Germany. He's like, really? We hate it here. And then, you've not lived in India, so you don't know.
That's fair. So, and were you able to pick up German quite easily, or was that also a bit of a struggle and challenge for you?
I studied German for a year there. I went to I did
Really?
a German course.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an intensive course. It was like 3 hours daily. But again, you learn the rules and everything for sure. But what people speak outside is completely different. So when I actually started working there, I picked up a lot of the conversational German, and
Right.
I was quite fluent in it.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
talk to me about your first job. What was that interview process like? I'm guessing it must be very different to the interview process in India, right? When you applied for a job in Germany.
In Germany, I was working for a visa company that on the lines of what VFS is for the Indian consulate. Our company was for the consulate in Frankfurt.
Okay, so it's like an
Uh,
Indian outsourcing
Indian,
company.
but then you had to speak to the customers who came in. They were all German.
Right.
But it was run by an Indian, so it was not a very hard process, honestly, because they weren't paying a lot. But
Well,
but I wanted to do something. But yeah, I learned a lot on that job for sure. I remember that we had telephone interviews there. So the first time I spoke with the director, I think, of that company, he was an Indian by birth. Uh, so with him, I could speak in English. I could get away with it, and I could tell him, my German is not that great, blah blah blah. And he was okay. He said, okay, okay, that's fine. And then he said, you'll have one more interview with my boss, and and then we'll go ahead from there. So I said, okay. And then his boss called. Her name was Saira Malhotra. So when I heard the name, I was like, okay, she's also Indian, then I can maybe get away with it, with English. And then she started talking to me in fluent German, like native German. And I was like, oh. And then in my broken German, we sort of, got over that interview. And then I later on found out that they were actually immigrants from Afghanistan. So all the Afghan Hindus that had to flee Afghanistan, they came and settled in Germany. They also have similar surnames like we have in India, like the Punjabi surnames. So I had a colleague whose name was Chandni Kapoor, but she's an Afghan Hindu. So that was also another thing that I learned while working over there, that not every Kapoor or Chopra is from India.
Or from Bollywood, right? Very
But
interesting. Yeah. I
yeah,
didn't know that either. So
yeah,
that's
I mean that was something very different,
yeah.
or very new.
And so, how long were you in Germany? Right, you learned German.
Germany, I was there for about 5.5 years.
Okay,
Before.
and then I know you eventually ended up leaving Germany and moving to the US and Detroit. So, was that a difficult decision for you guys? Was it a straightforward decision? What was that process like?
It was quite a straightforward decision, honestly, because at that point I think we got a little bit of the German fatigue, I guess. At that point, because it's very hard to progress career wise in Germany. They are a little hierarchical. So depending on the amount of time you've spent in a company is where your next promotion comes from. Where, as opposed to how it is here, if you're good, they'll push you. So I think Sanket was looking for, avenues. We were looking at UK, or we were looking at more English speaking, or any other country which had a mix of cultures. And at that point, we got the offer for assignment here through Opel. So Opel was a GM company at that point. So we came here. We were supposed to be here for 2 or 3 years. And then I think the plan was always to localize Sanket over here, but I was always, if like it was never like 100%. Oh yeah, you are going to be localized. You never know how things go right through the years. So that's how we came here in the first place. So 2 years we were here on assignment, and then GM sold Opel. So at that point, we didn't know whether we have to go back or we will continue staying here. But then they localized him. So now the rest is history.
Okay, so they moved him from Opel to some other GM division, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So, what is your personal opinion now? Are you thinking that the US is it? You might be open to moving within US, or are you pretty much sold on living in the US, or are you getting the itch now to move outside and explore a brand new country outside the US? What are you feeling?
I think I'm feeling a mix of things at this point, because now we're so far removed from family. It's very hard to meet them every year now. Now that everyone is working and then school's going on, so I feel that pull somewhere. So now I think Germany was closer to India. It was easier to travel to India. So, and then the lifestyle. I know we complained probably about German bureaucracy and red tapeism and everything while we were there. But when I think back, the lifestyle over there was a lot more healthy, a lot healthier. There was not so much dependence on cars. You would move around a lot more. The weather was a little less, extreme in Frankfurt, at least. Um, Not that I'm not enjoying what I'm doing right now or where I am, but like I said, I've not lived this long in a place. So now I'm like, ho gaya, abhi chalo. Chalo, kuch aur dekhte hain."
Well, the
So I keep
summer.
asking Sanket, is there any chance maybe we can go back to India or Germany or somewhere?
So I'm going to ask him this question: what's his inclination like? Is he looking to move? Is he against the move? What is his
He's
thoughts?
open. He's open to the idea, but there has to be a good offer, which I also agree with. I mean, we are
Fair enough.
now used to, fortunately or unfortunately, used to a certain lifestyle. So I
Right.
think the offer that we get has to match.
Absolutely. That's what sucks
Yeah.
you in, right? I think that's
Yeah.
disadvantage of living in the US.
Correct.
You get
Correct.
exposed to certain things, good or bad, but
Right.
I think from a professional purposes, right? You cannot get anywhere better than what you're
Yeah.
getting here, right? So then what's going
Yeah.
to attract you is your family. Your family is in
Correct.
India. Maybe be a
Correct.
little closer to India, right?
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying, right? It's a little further or farther from India, so now you
Yeah.
get to go once in a year, once every
Correct.
year. But I know you probably go there like once, at least once a year, right? At least you try to go there,
At least try to go, yeah, once a year.
attend a lot of those, the Barvé parties and the events that happen. So,
I know, I feel I get a lot of FOMO, man, when I see the messages.
so I was about to ask you, right? So ever since you left, right? You left. When I say left, I mean you left for Germany. Like you've been outside India,
Yeah.
and then you visited India often. So from that time onwards, what's been your most memorable or fun Barvé event that you can remember?
From after, I think the first time I came back to India, that was amazing. I think it was like, Beti Ghar Aayi Hai after like 1.5 years of being out. Um, I I honestly don't remember a whole lot that happened on that trip, but I do remember I was so happy to see everybody, and everybody was so happy to see me. And I think at that point I was the only one who was married, at least from my set of cousins.
Right.
So, they were like, "How is Germany? What do you do?" There was a lot of curiosity about, living in Germany and everything that I did there. I wasn't working at that point, but I was studying German, I think, then. So
That's
that was the fun part. But I was actually thinking about the most memorable Barve event. It was not after I got married. It was actually long back. I don't know if you remember it. This was the 93 to 94 wala New Year party on Aadhar Ka terrace.
I do not. That's like way
It's long back, but I somehow remember it vividly. Maybe I've seen pictures, that's why. But
90.
I remember.
I was in college. How old were you at that time?
I was 10,
Oh,
9 or 10.
okay. Yeah, I don't remember that. I mean,
And I remember Rima had become Santa Claus or something. And I also remember that party because Bunny Maushi, Alpana Maushi, and Sadhna Mami, they all three were pregnant at the same time.
Oh,
And then next year, 94, all three of these kids were born. So I remember that. Party.
okay. So what was it that you still remember? What is that stood out from that party compared to the others?
I think that was the first time I saw a party, like a Barve party,
Okay.
to such a, I don't know what to say, at such a level.
Full
Where
Barvé.
everyone was there, like all generations were there, like everyone
Right.
was alive at that point. So, and young, of course. So, and you guys were in college. So I remember you all were dancing, and I had twisted my foot, so I couldn't do anything. I was sitting and I was just looking around at everybody. Rima was Santa Claus. That much I remember.
It really must have been a fun party if we can remember it
It
so
was,
vividly
yeah.
these many years later, right? So
Yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so then I'll ask you like one more question, and then we'll go on to the next question, right? So, what's the funniest story you can tell me about your parents? Something we probably have not heard. Something that happened only within the family.
Uh, I think a funny story that I've heard them tell me is about how they met.
Okay,
So
please
I
share.
think I'm always going to kill me, but I think the parents had already met, and Baba was supposed to meet. I don't know if they had met outside already, but mom was working at that point, and Baba was supposed to go and meet her after work. And he was like this tall, dark, handsome, dude. And he was there outside her office waiting for her. And she told me, she's like, I looked out like that and I saw him waiting over there. And I was like, she was doing like a little dance in her, in her head, I think.
Interesting.
That story I remember.
Yeah, and I'm guessing it.
Yeah, I've been out for so long now. I don't remember any stories recently.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's now switch over into this section called Know You Better. I'm going to ask you 10 questions. They are like either or, right? And then depending, there's no right or wrong answer here. There's entirely your preference.
Okay.
What your preferences are, right? What your opinion is. And then depending on your answer, I'll pull that thread a little bit. Okay. So I'm going to start with one that I asked. So far, I've asked everyone that I've interviewed, right? iPhone or Android?
iPhone, maybe just by a bit.
iPhone.
Just because it has the iWatch, but otherwise.
Okay. What's your latest? What's the current phone that you have?
I have the 14 Pro.
14 Pro.
iPhone 14. Yeah.
And are you someone who needs a new phone as soon as it's launched, or pretty much when it dies?
Pretty much I won't say when it dies, but maybe in a couple of years.
Oh.
Like not every time a new one is launched, but maybe skip one generation in the next.
Okay, so that's good. Okay. Next question: beer or wine?
Hard choice, but wine as of now.
Wine. Okay.
Yeah.
I would have thought you would have taken a beer, which way you're living in Germany. You would have.
I would have. If we were in Germany, still I would have because I love German beer. But
so you don't get German quality beer in the US, is what you're saying?
I like that wheat beer, and we don't get the kinds you get in Germany. So.
I like that. That's my favorite too.
Yeah. So I like wine and red at that.
Wine. Okay. Cabernet or what's your favorite one?
I'm not a wine snob. It has to be red.
WhatsApp or some other messaging app?
WhatsApp.
WhatsApp, is that your most popular? Your go-to message app is WhatsApp?
WhatsApp and Instagram a lot of times now.
Well, funny you say that because my next question is TikTok or Instagram?
I'm not on TikTok.
You're not on TikTok. So Insta.
Insta.
You are like a prolific poster on Insta?
I'm more of a passive observer.
Consumer. Just like to scroll the other people.
And send reels.
But I'm guessing you must be posting some photos of summer, right, on Instagram.
I do, yeah. I once in a while. Like Sanket completely doesn't. I mean, he scrolls. He is more passive than I am, but I like to post once in a while.
A book or a movie, and not necessarily a movie about the book, but given a choice, would you rather read a book or go watch a movie?
Movie.
Why?
Yeah. I don't know. I really want to get back into the habit of reading. I used to love it at one point, but somehow now I'm just not getting the time or motivation. I don't know. So movies is like instant gratification right now. So I love watching movies. I love going for movies.
What do you have a specific genre you like to watch, or any kind of movie?
No, any kind. I mean, it has to be entertaining, I guess.
So, what's the most interesting movie you've seen recently?
Most interesting. I actually quite enjoyed Rocky or Rani Ki Prem Kahani.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay, I wouldn't have picked that, but hey, whatever.
But off late, I'm trying to think of a nice one I've seen of late. There was a few years back we saw Ford versus Ferrari. That was also a nice movie. We enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, that is a decent movie on Netflix.
Yeah.
So, speaking of which, my next question is Netflix or something else? Some other streaming service?
I have no preference.
No preference. So, how many do you like have subscribed to all streaming services, or do you have a few subscribed
So
to?
Netflix, we mooch off of Sanket's brothers account. Prime, we have our own, and then we took Sling for the matches and everything, and then there's Sony, and then a couple of other Indian. Because Indian web series are actually really nice these days. They make some really, really good web series, so we like to watch some of those. So because of that, I'm not a whole lot, maybe 3 or 4.
Okay. What's the most recent Indian web series you've seen that you caught up with, or what are you watching these days?
I'm blank. I'm actually watching Netflix right now. It's not an Indian web series, but the Comey Rule. That's the one we're watching right now.
I've not heard of it, but what is it about?
It's about when I think he was the FBI director who came out with Hillary Clinton's emails or made them public. That whole scandal.
Documentary, or is it like a movie?
It's a series. It's not too. I think it's like a movie cut into series, cut into parts.
Documentary. It's like actors
Kind
doing
of. Yeah. So Jeff Daniels is playing the lead role in that one.
Would you recommend it?
It's a little slow, but I mean, if you enjoy American politics, you might.
Thank you for being on.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think this one is going to be a really quick one, but Bollywood music or English music?
Oh, Bollywood music.
Bollywood, right?
Bollywood.
Maja is your favorite song, right? So if we had to take a look at the music app on your phone today, and you go to the music app and you hit play, what's the song that's going to play? If we hit play in the music app right now, what song?
It'll probably be some Hindi song or Telugu song, because Summer is a lot into Telugu music right now because they have a lot of pacey numbers. And so it's probably going to be one of those. Or it'll be a 90s Bollywood song.
That is such an interesting thing to hear, that Summer is into Telugu music. I feel like I should interview him too.
You should interview him.
That is. Does he have a lot of Telugu friends in school? Or
his best friend is actually Telugu.
Okay. That explains.
So yeah, and he enjoys music as much as Summer does. So they both go for dance, Bollywood dance.
Makes sense. Okay. Here's one. I think you're old enough to remember these two sitcoms. Well, I'll be curious. Friends or Seinfeld?
I'd say Friends. Just because Seinfeld I was a little younger, I think, when Seinfeld came out. Friends was more when I was of that teenage.
Okay. So who's your favorite character in Friends?
Friends, I like Rachel.
Rachel.
I actually enjoy Seinfeld also. We got the whole season right now.
Yeah. So do you like Rachel because you relate mostly to her, or why do you, just among the 6 you like her the best, is it?
Just, I think she's like a little crazy. She has really great fashion sense. I don't relate to any of them, but I liked her.
Okay. Last one. Zombies or ghosts?
None.
I should have told you. You have to pick one.
Okay. Ghosts then.
Is it because you believe in ghosts and don't believe in zombies, or why pick ghosts?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Are you afraid of ghosts?
Yeah.
Do you believe in ghosts?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you superstitious at all?
I am a little bit.
Okay. Very interesting. Okay. So have you gone on those treks to haunted houses? Are you that passionate now?
Oh, no. I'm not fascinated. I'm afraid. I stay away.
Fair enough. Okay. So now let's go to the point section of the recording, right? So I told you to pick 4 categories, right?
Mm-hmm.
Here's how it's going to go, right? You pick 4 categories. I ask you 2 questions from each category. Sorry, yeah, 2 questions from each category, and you get 2 points for each correct answer. So 8 questions, 16 points, right? That's option 1. Option 2 is I ask you 1 question from all categories, but you get 3 points for the correct answer. So would you rather stick to the categories you know and are comfortable with, or are you willing to take a chance and go all categories?
Let's go all categories.
All
Not that
categories.
I know those 4 categories also well, so might as well.
Okay. Right. So the categories are, and I'll just change the order a little bit, but there's entertainment. Okay, that's category 1. Second category is country politics and affairs, and I will stick to the US. Unless you would rather me ask you about Indian politics, I'll stick to the US politics. International current affairs, okay, in just normal GK, sports, Indian mythology, okay, technology, and then I have a surprise category. And for you, the surprise category is elementary schools, since summer happens to be in elementary school. Okay, ready? Okay. So, like I said, I'm going to ask you 8 questions, 3 points for each. Okay. All right. Here we go. Okay. Shah Rukh Khan has released 2 movies this year. And when I say 2, that means ones in which he actually acted. I'm not talking about cameos or guest appearances. He's released 2 movies this year. One of them is Pathan. Name the second.
Jawan.
Oh, good one. Excellent.
I'm a Shah Rukh Khan fan.
Oh, I did not know that. I thought it's another actor. If I'd known. Okay. So let's talk about country politics and affairs for the US, right? I'll make it very simple. So, are you familiar with the Republican primary polls that are happening right now?
Not very, but I may have an idea.
Can you name the top candidate right now who's polling?
Is it Ramaswamy?
No, he's not Ramaswamy. He's number 3. The top candidate is actually Trump.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, he's polling number 1. And hey,
Wow.
Okay. Next one. This is about current affairs, right? So there have been 3 big earthquakes this year. There was a really big one in Turkey in February, killed like I think 50,000 people. There was one this month in Afghanistan, which killed 1,500 people. There was another one before that killed 3,000 people. Can you remember which country that earthquake happened?
Was it? Was it in the Balochistan area? Or was it Nepal?
Neither.
Neither. There was one in the Balochistan region, though. I remember.
Probably not as big as the one.
Okay.
Like the one that killed 3,000 people was in Morocco.
Oh yeah. I read about that. Yeah.
Okay, next one. Sports. Who won the FIFA Women's World Cup this year?
USA?
No, sorry. It was Spain. Spain won it. USA got beaten in like way before, I think in the quarters or something. So, all right, that's okay. We still have a few categories go for you to 1 point. So, here we go. The next one is Indian mythology.
Sanket, don't answer any questions.
Indian mythology. Okay. So, you know Dashavatara, right? Vishnu's Dashavatara. So, obviously, Ram, Krishna, Buddha are like the more common ones. For 3 points, name any other Dashavatara apart from Ram, Krishna, and Buddha.
I don't know.
Take a
Pass.
So why guess? No?
Parshuram?
Yes.
Oh,
Absolutely. Parshuram was a Brahman warrior. So that's good. So you get 3 points there. So you have got
nice.
6 points. Gopal. That's good. Okay. Now let's switch to business, money, finance kind of a thing. Okay. Is the current US inflation rate less than 5% or more than 5%?
I know it's a lot. I'm gonna say less than 5%.
Correct. It is less than. It's only 3.67.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right. Technology. And this one should be right up your alley since your hubby works in GM. Okay. What are the EV batteries made of?
Lithium. Lithium ion.
Lithium ion. Good one. Okay. Good. All right. The last category is elementary school. Okay. True or false? Phonics is used to teach children to read in elementary school. True or
True.
false? True, right?
True.
You said true
Yeah.
or false?
Huh?
You said true or false?
True.
True. Good. That's correct.
Okay.
So you have 18 points. That's not too
Okay.
bad.
Woohoo!
That's actually pretty good. You'll have to compare this with what Sanket comes up with. So
Yeah. He'll
similar.
know everything. He's very good with
Let's find out. I'll ask him a little difficult for.
yeah.
Okay. So we're coming towards the end. This last section is yes or no questions. It's just like either or, but I'm not going to pull the thread. You
Okay.
ask your question, you answer yes or no honestly, no judgment, and we move on.
Okay.
So question 1. Have you ever thought a friend's baby was ugly?
Ugly?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Have you ever made a prank call?
Yes.
Yes. Have you ever faked sick from work?
Yes.
Yes. Have you ever fallen asleep at work?
No.
No. Have you ever peed in a pool?
Yes. Yes.
Have you ever sung in public?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I must have.
That's good. Have you ever thrown up on someone?
No.
Have you ever eaten or tasted beef?
Yes. Tasted.
Tasted. Okay. Have you ever cheated on a test?
Yes. But I was very bad at it. Bad at cheating.
No judgment. Trust me, no judgment. Have you ever, this is the last one, have you ever broken something at a friend's house and then not told her?
Yes, probably.
Yes. I was expecting a whole bunch of yeses in there, and yeah, it was just no judgment. Because everyone now knows your answers, they're recorded, and if they want, they can reach out to you to ask for details. But we will. So something you mentioned very interestingly that that caught my eye that I'm really curious about is that you're now into shuffle dancing, right? So
Yeah.
for people like me who have no clue what shuffle dancing is, why don't you first explain what shuffle dancing is, and then explain why or what interests you about shuffle dancing?
I think it's kind of a midlife crisis, honestly. Um, I just wanted to learn a new skill, honestly. And I don't think of myself as a very great dancer or anything, but I took it as a challenge to see if I could do it. Shuffle dancing is more of the hip hop. It's more in the hip hop genre of dancing. Um, and interestingly enough, there is actually one Instagram handle that I follow. It's about a woman who started to learn shuffle dancing at 39, and she got so good at it that at 43 she's actually teaching people. uh, the moves, and she's really good. So I started following her about a year back, and I would enjoy, watching her reels and everything. And then a few months back, I was like, let me try my hand at it. Let's see how it goes. So it's hard. You need to be very light on your feet. You have to like jump around a lot. It's a very cardio intensive dance, and you have to look good doing it. So and there are no classes, unfortunately, that I've at least found near me that provide those services. So I'm going off of YouTube and Instagram right now to learn.
Okay. So you mentioned it's like hip hop, but what sort of songs can you dance to? Any song, or are they
It can be
coupled specific songs?
no, it can be any like a song with beats,
Okay.
obviously, would be better, but it's any. There's no specific like this is shuffle dance song, or this is, it could
Interesting.
be any kind of fast, pacey number. So,
And since you're just recently picked up into it, what do you think is the natural progression? Where do you want to go? Do you want to officially learn some more? Do you want to dance a little bit in public? What are you thinking? Like, what's the natural progression for you for shuffle dancing?
I want to look good doing it. Right now, I'm very heavy on my feet. So when I do it, people should be like, wow, she's really good.
Okay. So maybe next time you're in India, we can have a performance video for shuffle dancing. If you're going to, at
Oh,
least
yeah.
it's something to look for. So,
Well, yeah, that could be like what I could work towards.
so most of the listeners of this show are going to be from India. So now they
Yeah.
know you're in shuffle dancing. So it wouldn't surprise me if they were to ask you to
Now,
show you
at
how
least
to
this will
shuffle
push
dance.
me to practice more.
There you go. So that's a good thing. So, but I know you mentioned it was a midlife crisis. And by the way, you're too young to have a midlife crisis, by the way. But what sort of attracted you to shuffle dancing? Because it's not something you hear of. It's not a very common genre, right? So what attracted you to shuffle dancing?
I like the style, I think.
Hmm.
For me, I like to dance, and I like to believe that I'm better at these faster, more pacey dance styles than the typical Bollywood. Although I love Bollywood, but I cannot dance very gracefully to Bollywood songs. I'll always be jumping or doing something. So I thought at least let's let's see how it looks when
Interesting.
it.
Well, I for one will be looking forward to seeing you do the shuffle dance sometime in the future. Maybe post it on Instagram for all to see.
I want to try. I want to send it to like a focus group and see what
There
they
you
think.
go. There you go. Good, good. Well, cool. I mean, you're the first and only person I know who does shuffle dancing. I'd never heard of it. So, good luck to you. And like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing you dance.
Thank you.
Okay, so now let's move to the Barvé challenge, right? So I know you haven't listened to it yet because the episode hasn't dropped. But when I
Mhm.
interviewed Radhika and I gave her the Barvé challenge, she actually gave two, but you were one of the persons that she would like to see on this show. And the
Okay.
question, and by the way, I'm done that. So check, I've done that. So I've got you on the show.
Okay.
And the question she wanted me to ask you was, what life advice would you give her? So over to you.
That's a heavy question. I was like, I'm in no position to give life advice, but if I were to give my two bits, it would be excited about the little things in life. Because sometimes what happens is we get so caught up in the whole, uh, you know, uh, not the rat race, but just the whole grind, like the whole routine. Any small thing that happens, at least that's what I've noticed. Sometimes I'm like, okay, this is fine. Yeah, big deal. What is the big deal in this? It can be anything, uh, I'm blanking out on what those events could be, but it could be as something small as going away for the weekend or having some friends come over. So I guess be excited about the little things, and you'll enjoy life a lot more as you go along, and you'll be happy.
No, that is actually very good advice, right? Be excited about the little things in life. It's
Yeah.
sometimes you get so involved in the rat race, like you said. it's hard to ignore the small things that give you pleasure. So yeah, that's really good advice. So now your turn to have the challenge. If there was one person from the extended Barvé family whom you would want to go through the same process you're going through, who would that be?
So she's probably going to hit me for this, but I want to nominate Bunny Maushi.
Okay.
And the question I want to ask her is, who asked whom?
Oh, very interesting. Okay. Yes. So, Bunny, if you're obviously hearing this, don't be surprised to see me reach out and be prepared to answer that question. So, okay. So, your Barvé class challenge is Bunny Maushi, and the question is known. So, I think that's it for the show. So, one last thing is, you're on WhatsApp, yes. But you're also on Insta. So what's your handle on Instagram? Where can people find you on Instagram?
At Meeta.Paranjpe.
At Meeta.Paranjpe.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
So all my social media has my maiden name. I have not changed it to Phadke.
That's fine. That's a brand name. That's a brand name, right? So,
exactly.
Yeah. So thank you for being on the show. I can't thank you enough. I know I dragged you away from a Sunday evening, so really truly appreciate it. But yeah, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for opening up, and hopefully you enjoyed it.
No, thank you for this. It's such a fun idea. I think it'll be amazing to hear the others as well.
That's our show today. Thank you all for listening, and thank you again to the lovely Meeta for spending time with us and sharing so much about her. If any of you have been convinced to learn shuffle dancing, please reach out to her. I'm sure she'll be thrilled. Until next time, this is your host Amaya saying bye for now. From the movie Jab We Met, here is Mauja Hi Mauja.
Let me hear you shout! फिर गया